Hello, I'm from marketing, and I'm here to help. If you remember, one of our former movie actors from the 50s. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for being here. It's great to see everyone and talk with everyone here, have some food with them, and other things, just food and drinks. But what I want to go over is, three kind of stories, or if you'll pardon the word, case studies of people who use Cloud Foundry. And there's a wonderful one this morning, opening it up, and some other ones have been mentioned here and there. But I think it's definitely, as being from marketing, as I said, it's definitely something that I think we should do a lot of in this community. And there's so many good stories to tell. Now, what's exciting is I actually have 4 for you today, because unlike my usual introverted cocoony self, having a conference at a hotel that I'm staying at, I didn't just run off to my room between sessions and look down at the ground so I don't have to talk with people. I thought I would talk with people, and so I got some stories, which was delightful. So I'll go over one of those, and this one I just got very quickly, so the numbers might be a little wrong, but I can point the finger at the person who gave it to me if you want to get the correct ones. I think it's been said many times, but this is actually a great time for something like Cloud Foundry, for any PaaS to be around. And not only is there kind of like this sentiment of, in addition to everything else, wanting to have a platform around to do more rapid application development. I don't know if you've heard of that concept, but this idea of let's have the developers focus on what they're doing. And there's a few other things other than that sentiment supporting it. By my reckoning each year, about 40-50% of applications run, whether you want to call it dedicated cloud or private cloud or on-premises, or I manage my own stack of stuff cloud. That doesn't really initialize very well. Really, that has stuck for many years if you look at analyst reports and other things like that. It's a whole presentation I have going over that if you're really interested in charts, which I would love to talk to you because I like charts. There's not that many of us around who really get into charts. Speaking of charts, also, when you ask people about where they want to do their AI stuff, many of them, they want to do it in I kind of lumped together edge here. It seems a little extreme to care about something called edge. I know it's important, but if you kind of look at the numbers of people who are want to deploy this kind of stuff, it's also in their own environments, right? Which again is perfect situation for a platform. And then, of course, thanks to my friends back home, lots of discussion about sovereign cloud, or as an American, how I like to think about it, the not American cloud, which is, sort of like the rest of the world instead of just US-based ones. Again, a great opportunity for a PaaS to be around, for Cloud Foundry to be around. It's really a good time, as long as you don't call it PaaS. We can't say that anymore. It has bad memories and connotations, You want to be where did the 3-layer stack touch you, make you feel bad? It's terrible. Just say platform, and then you won't evoke all of those memories. So again, it's the perfect time for that. And the issue is not really enough people know about Cloud Foundry. They know of it distantly in the past as sort of a thing, but we don't really get the story out that much, which is the 3 things that I want to go over. So this is me. I'll give an introduction to myself because I enjoy it when people engage with my brand, as one of my old friends used to say. But I, like several of the people who have spoken here, I've been in this area for about 10 years or so at Pivotal, and then VMware Tanzu, then VMware Tanzu by Broadcom, and I think now we're Tanzu by Broadcom. I just put Tanzu because it's a lot faster than all of that other stuff. I don't know if I successfully showed you how much brand training I've been through. Kind of a bad student. But I've been lucky to talk with people over this past 10 years about how they do software development. The sort of if you remember Josh's talk, the people who manage Josh's people, those are the people that I talk with a lot. They got a lot of opinions about Josh. It's brilliant. We're going to go back to our slides. But I've been lucky to write some books. I do some podcasts, stuff like that. Like I said, engage with my brand if you care. Usually I wear that shirt, but my dog got really nervous and ripped it up. It's very sad. I should change that. So I should have raised my hand this morning. I had to go look up if I was at that CF Summit in 2015. Thankfully, I have used TripIt and Flighty, so I could go verify I at least was in San Jose. I assume I was at the conference, but actually I was there. And you can tell what my focus was when I was there. It was the wonderful snacks they had. I love these coconut macaroons, especially with chocolate on the bottom. Those are delicious. I probably have some more pictures of snacks that I had there. I don't know, and then there's people presenting, which was delightful. So here's what I'm going to go over, is I'm going to have a mixture of like telling you some stories, but also like part of what I want to do to this community is do a little bit of, if you'll forgive it, pedantry, right? So like, as I'll get to, I think we should be putting together a lot more of these stories or case studies. I'm going to go between those two words. Hopefully the case study doesn't offend you. But this is kind of like a template of what you want to do with a case study, right? The point being to show people who are interested or people who need to be told this, that what you have is worth their time considering, that it works, that it kind of fits with what their problems are, right? And if you go look at the Cloud Foundry site, there's actually a lot of case studies. We just don't have a lot of new updated ones. And so I think that's something that I think is actually could be pretty easy for us to do as a community. And you can look through the rest of what's there, right? But I'll hopefully show more of what what this run book, if you will, looks like by going through them. So, like I said, I'm going to go over 4 of them. And I don't know, I have a philosophy degree, not a marketing degree. I don't even know if you can go to school for marketing. You probably can. But these are not the technical terms from a textbook. I just made these up. But the first one, we'll call it it just works, right? And what you do with this kind of story is you're just trying to show that this isn't some like wacky, crazy science fiction stuff. Now, I don't hear this so much anymore, but there was a time when everyone was like, we want to be like Google. And you would be like, I don't think you know what you're talking about, right? Like, you probably don't want to be like that, and you don't need to be like that. So this is kind of the opposite of that. This is, we would like to go home at 4:30 every day, and maybe like not have to like do some crazy exotic sort of stuff, and be stable, be running in a normal way, be good. Well, not in some moral way, but in an effective way. And so this is anonymized, but here we have, again, it's kind of a mixture of showing how to make case studies and going over one, or stories. Here you have kind of like the first raw materials of telling a story. And again, I'm going over this. Maybe you can, cycle around in your head some how you would put together these things and tell these stories yourself. But so we have a bank here. It's I assume most all banks are beloved. A nice beloved bank of the world and their customers. And you can see what's their Cloud Foundry sort of platforms, their foundations, all their stuff are supporting. And these numbers I found over the years are very important to get out there as much as possible. Like as a internally facing, you kind of get used to these numbers and you don't really think about them too much. And the number that I like the most, that's the most tangible to my mind, and I think the people that we want to like bring in and convince about Cloud Foundry is, I'll quote the application instances or the containers, all these kind of things, but you go tell that to someone outside of this community and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Is it AI a container? Is a container an AI? What is it? And so I like to focus on but the number of applications they're supporting, right? Like how many apps are running on the platform that you have, are you supporting with that? And then also, what are you actually doing with it, right? Because that gets to the point of, and this is why it's a good example of it just works. This is a regular organization in a good way, right? Something that people depend on every day, if not multiple times a day. And there are, definitely here, you can get a sense of the magnitude of what they're doing. But when you look over that they're supporting things like I think most all of their retail banking, the payments that they're handling, various open banking concerns that they have, which is, as a vendor, regulations are great, especially ones that have a deadline, because then you can do your sales pipeline planning very effectively. So, having to adopt to open banking, and then of course, nowadays, I think Oren and both Josh were going over the Gen AI stuff that is available in the overall community. And that's something else that's supported there, right? So now, I have not told you a story so much, but again, think about your experience, like what you do directly and how you would draw out these templates and why telling that kind of story would be valuable. Now, the other part of the story, this is a marketing technical term, outcomes. You could say business outcomes as well. But what that means is like basically, why do I care, right? Like what is it doing for me other than a bunch of big numbers, right? And these are the things that are sometimes harder to quantify, but equally important, right? That like at this point, this bank is able to do, all sorts of deploys during working days. I had to learn this technical term, heightened awareness periods, which sounds like whenever my kids are home for me. But also there's all the things that we as a community know, right? There's faster setup time, it's faster to patch things, and equally important, we don't talk about this as much as we used to, but happy developers. Always nice to have them. But this is the other side of a case study, of a story that I think is very important to start telling people is like, what does it do for the business, right? And what's good to me, about this kind of story, the It Just Works story, is again, it's not like, we're not really generating images of like kangaroos riding on horses here. Like, so we don't have exotic needs, we don't have interesting needs, we just wanna make sure that like you get paid, right? Or that you pay your bills. Like all the things that actually runs our not entire, but huge parts of our lives, right? So next, and I did have a joke, if you're one of my coworkers, you can close your ears and your eyes, and if you're watching the film of this, definitely if you're in my upper management chain, just pretend like this next part didn't happen. But here's an example of the open sourcer, right? And I think it's important to go over this example, right? Because any community like this needs to be more, despite my compensation, needs to be more than just one person selling the stuff, right? And it's important to go over all of these things. I think, to put it one way, all of our Cloud Foundry stories are all of our Cloud Foundry stories, right? And it's something that we could definitely embrace. Now, this is Rabobank, and they first started using, I guess it was probably PCF, Pivotal, back in 2017. And then 4 years ago, they migrated to open source, which is great. Love to see them in the community. And I live in Amsterdam, so I unfortunately am not a Rabo customer. But I encounter them all the time. I was just telling my Rabo friend here that when I first moved there, they were the first ones to have Apple Pay, and they had it on the bus stops everywhere. And so still, and I'm going to assume it's true, I assume they're the most technologically advanced bank available, just because I could pay with my phone in 2018. But you can see their numbers, being a Netherlands bank that still has reach outside of the Netherlands, are a bit smaller when you look at it, which is fine. But you can see they're supporting 300 developers. And then again, all of their retail banking stuff runs on Cloud Foundry. The payments that they do run on that as well. And you can see this is a very common thing, lots of internal applications run there. So again, kind of rounding out the pattern, right? A slide loop, the slide heads we'll call it. You can see this is one figure that we in the community like to quote all the time, is the developer to operator ratio, right? Which is a good kind of quick thing that astounds people all the time. So you see you've got 300 developers and the numerous applications they have, and then 4 teams of platform engineers. And they have the usual stuff that we kind of saw in the other example. They can deploy things very rapidly. They can do it, I assume, during periods of urgency or whatever, the kind of trusted to deploy things. And I think the last one is my favorite. They were not blamed for outages in the past year, which is always great. That reminds me of another case. There's an example of some other organization. I'll anonymize them as much as possible, and pretty much all of their stuff went down. And then the executive team was like, what's that over there in the corner that didn't go down? And it was their Cloud Foundry platform, which was, it reminded me that in marketing, you often have to tell people you exist, which I think about a lot in the role that I'm in. But if something is stable and is just running well, it's definitely worth telling people about it over and over again in a kind of a story format like this. Now, the other one, we'll call it the impressive performer, right? And this is the one where you are like, oh, they're operating at Google scale, or like, whatever scale, like where you want to go over those types of things. And once again, you've got a financial institution going over that. This is another thing which makes, see those cameras back there, a fantastic marketing asset, because this is all from a recorded talk that the Schwab people gave at a conference. And once you have something on YouTube, as I was telling someone, speaking to you all in the room is very nice. I love it. It's pleasant. Good to see you. But having it on YouTube is like a multiplier for all of that, right? Like for you wanting to be here, I appreciate you listening to me, but you're probably like, yes, right? Like, sounds good. I'd like to go get some more sweet treats or something. But it's those people that we haven't talked to yet who are always well, not always, but are hanging out on YouTube and come across these videos, these things that we're recording, that is kind of the people that we want to reach most. So in this instance, you can see impressive numbers. I was showing this to one of the people whose stories I was telling here, and they took a pause, and they're like, whoa, that's huge. You can see how many deploys they do. And again, here at Schwab, I use Schwab. They're great. Or Charles Schwab. Us insiders just call them Schwab. But you can see they do their retail trading stuff, right? They manage kind of like, I don't know, my retirement account, basically. All of those RSUs that I love are there as well. And they do overall like wealth management, all kinds of services like that. And, here they have they're running real stuff that moves a ton of money around, right? If you go watch this panel, which is fun, I think what they said is they do like 5.4 million trades a day. And I think at average every day, they're like, they manage like $9.41 trillion in assets, right? So I guess in the financial world, it's Google scale, whatever that means, right? But again, the importance to me is what they do with it and how it's effective. And so to that end, like the panel that they go over here, I know you can't click on it now, but I'll give you a QR code with the slides. There's actually, the impressive thing is this chart down here is they call it I think a market storm. And basically the story is, as I guess you can imagine, when in the U.S., when Wall Street opens up, the first 15 minutes are bonkers, which is what you see here, right? Like everything's nice and calm. We're getting our coffee. Maybe we're getting our third cup of coffee, and then craziness, right? And so handling that amount of load, being reliable, I think it works 5 days a week, right? If I remember how stocks work. Doing that 5 days a week, like that is supported by Cloud Foundry, right? And so that showing a chart like that, going over their ability to do that, and the overall story, right? It's something that draws people in and shows them, how nice the platform is and what it does. And again, that it's real and mature. It's something they should be looking into, even if they want to operate at Schwab scale. Maybe we should start saying that. That would be thrilling. So then finally, since we're in Germany, I thought I would go over a German company. And I'm going to characterize this one. I've taken, all of these are examples of each type of story, right? I've just taken one kind of angle at looking at them. And this one I think is good, like the transformer, right? And this is something maybe you experience firsthand, but you probably come across, is like there's a lot of computers and software in the world that we would like to be better, right? Like whether we want to change the infrastructure, we want to make the applications better. And so everyone is interested, or most people are interested in transforming how they go about things. And that's the journey that Dativ has been on. I won't go over what they do. Most people, they're an accounting firm that helps out accountants here in Germany, which I've been told German accounting is even more complicated than American accounting, which sounds really complicated when it comes to taxes. Now that I live in the Netherlands, they've basically got 3 boxes, and you just put a number in each, and then all of your stuff is preloaded, so when you log into it, which is amazing. It's so crazy that doesn't happen, because they know. Every government who's taxing you knows what you have. I don't know why they don't just send you a bill. Then I don't have to do taxes. Anyhow, so they've been going through, I forget the date that they've been using Cloud Foundry, but they've been modernizing the mainframe and even the Windows-based applications that they're using to support their kind of co-op of accountants that work with them. And again, you can see kind of the magnitude is scaled to what they're doing, but they've got, I think something like I've found over the years, showing how many teams you're supporting on Cloud Foundry is very valuable, right? It gives, again, I'm kind of going over things that people outside of this room, you want to show them, you want to give them an impression of how much work is being done. Work is the wrong word, but how many teams are supported, how many applications are being used, that it's not just some strange exotic thing from times past, right? It's actually running things that people depend on every day, or at least during tax season. But here also, for payroll and office management and things like that. So here, and this is what kind of makes it a transformation thing, right? I think it's great that Jürgen shared all of this stuff with me and corrected some errors that I had, which is nice. It's always good to be truthful in most marketing. I think what they've been using Cloud Foundry for, not only for the runtime aspects of it, right? I'm sure they have crazy market windows when some fun tax day occurs. But they've been using it, and some people have mentioned this today, as what's a standard way we can do things? What's our standardized way of running applications, even architecting them, so that as we're taking all of the kind of legacy apps we have a standard place to go. We have a plan. We don't just have the kind of like whatever you might want to do. The very enterprisey way of thinking about things. And you can see they have similar, ability to patch things quickly and run things. They also have very beautiful slides, if you want to zoom into those when you get the original. They're very nicely done. So there's many other cases. I caught up with some Mercedes-Benz people. These are, again, you can't click on them, but these are all kind of public links you can go to. Always lots of banks. And then another open sourcer down there, Comcast, that has a similar story to Rabobank, much different industry and different scale that they have. But there's all sorts of things. And then we saw one at the bottom down there. Every time someone mentions like a military or security force, they're always like, but I can't tell you who it is. It's very, very secret. And so it's great that you have people talking out loud about it. It's very helpful for the community. So here's my, someone mentioned this today, so I won't be teaching you this term. This is a call to action, which sounds very militaristic now that I think of it. But what I think would be great for the community to do, right? If you're a user, it's great to figure out how to tell your story. And I think part of the angle here is that, sure, you've got paperwork and comms people, but if you're like, yeah, but this is about some open source software in a community for Cloud Foundry stuff, they'll probably be like, oh, right, that's great, because we're in this contract negotiation with this vendor that does it, and we don't want you to talk about them. But if you talk about how you're using an open source thing, which you will be, however it's bundled together for you, that generally is a lot easier. So if you're using this stuff, it's really very important, I think especially over the next 12 months, maybe even 24 months, to get that story out there, to talk about how many people are doing it and what you're doing with it. And hopefully I've given you kind of a sense of kind of like the bullet points, the raw ingredients that you can like stick in a blender and make a delicious smoothie. There's always a little bit left over, never sure what to do with it, but have some kids and feed it to them. This delicious cake, I'm gonna end that analogy. It's not going anywhere. So speaking of, if there's some things you wanna do right now, including this week, so one, there's always Cloud Foundry Weekly, and I mean that in a good way. I know Nick and Nikki, very confusing, Nick and Nikki, the two Nicks. Anyways, they're always interested in guests. That's you can go talk on their podcast. They'll be doing something later today. I think they have people sign, but if there's an empty chair, you should just rush up there without getting their permission and start telling what your story is. That'd be great. I'll set them up for that. There's also there's two CFPs that are closing at the end of this week. There's Config Management Camp, which if you fancy yourself a Bosch aficionado, it would be amazing if you gave a talk about that there. The last time there was a Bosch talk there was in when I first joined Pivotal in 2015, when my friend engaged with my brand, Andrew Clay Schaefer, went and gave a Bosch talk. And it was fun, if you've ever seen him present, and then about Bosch. So that is something, and Ghent is lovely, or however you'd like to pronounce it. It's very nice. Hotels are super cheap, and you can drive there from all sorts of places. It's a good place to go. You should go talk at that conference about, it's very low level, very technical, I'm sorry. And I don't mean to be pejorative in my directional adjectives. And then there's also KubeCon, which I think closes on the 12th, which is a couple days after the 10th, if I remember how math works. And in that one, so Paula, who was speaking here earlier, she could tell you all about the platform engineering track that exists there. And it's a very, I love seeing I haven't been to one yet, but I like seeing the recordings there, because they're not just sort of like, and then let's get into the YAML and look at this. And they're very much so like what people are doing with the platform and how they're using it during that track. It'd be great if they had multiple tracks in that track. But maybe you can help have multiple tracks in that track by submitting a CFP to it, a call for papers. That's what CFP sounds like. And then there's all these other ones that are kind of reliable places that I think are worth going to speak at. Oh, and then also, before I wrap up, if you ever want to put an article in the news stack, we just have kind of like unlimited access to help you publish things there. So if you have a story that you want to tell, it's very easy to, as it says here, wherever there's a button that says publish, try to go click on it and get that message out there. So with that, yeah, thanks again for having me. It was great talking with you, and it's really nice to see everyone. Yeah, and I think the more we can get stories out there, whether they're updates on existing ones, new stories that we have, whatever they are, like it will only help us out along the way. And I'll be around the rest of the day, of course. And with that, thanks.